he made his point. He made it a few times, and now I'd like to respond.
All right, go ahead.
Okay? Saudi Arabia wants many things. They have a shopping list. As we know from the last round of negotiation, they wanted a civilian nuclear program. Okay? Israel was against giving them that. There's many things that can be given to Saudi Arabia to bring them in to the Abraham Accords. Progress on a Palestinian state is not going to happen. After October 7th, a Palestinian state in Israel is just not, it's not going to happen. Not for a long time. And Saudi Arabia knows that. They're very smart. They know that October 7th ruined the chances of a Palestinian state for many, many years to come. And so Saudi Arabia will adjust its desires from the U.S., what it wants, in order to join the Abraham Accords.
Can I reply as a Saudi, Randy?
Go ahead. I mean,
here's the thing. Me as a Saudi person, or people in general, if they want to get anything from Saudi Arabia, they need to look at official governmental statements, either from what we call Diwan al-Maliki or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
Now, which is the Diwan al-Maliki. The current condition or current conditions right now on the table, I don't care about what Biden says, what Lincoln says, what the Likud party say, what's right now on the table
What do we care about what Raheem says? You have an opinion, and
but I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm giving you what.
And the people who know more than you have.
Here you go. Here's the thing, Norma. You keep on muting me again, and I didn't finish.
He gave the statement of his
Here's a mod that needs everybody. That statement,
like literally.
But here's the thing: the current statement and the current conditions. If you want normalization with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you need to have a 1967 border. What can I say?
The United States doesn't need shit from Saudi Arabia. That's what you're misunderstanding, right? The United States.
I'm not talking about the U.S.
Norman, allow somebody to engage with him. The reality is, the United States doesn't need shit from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia needs shit from the United States and Israel. That's right. The point. Like, he thinks he has the upper hand. He's like, we control oil. Trump is going to cut energy costs by half.
Okay, I'll make a cue because everybody.
All right, I'll give the cue.
Why is everybody?
Osmanio's in the queue.
Okay, one at a time, please. Okay.
Just go one at a time. That's
One
all you
at a
have
time.
to do.
My comment is,
Go ahead.
did he leave?
No, I sent him down because he was yelling.
I really don't think Aramco gives a shit about the Palestinians, but that's.
Nobody gives a shit
Go
about
ahead.
the Palestinians. Believe me.
Least of all the Saudis, they
Well-
call them gangsters. They know that they're losers. They've never raised a finger to help them. The idea that they're going to get some concession out of Israel that goes back to '67 is delusional. We want them to prosper. We want them to live in peace. They're not going to be allowed to pick up a gun and hurt a Jew. Those are the terms, like it or not. And Saudis are on board with this. They've had a peace and cooperation agreement with Israel for over a decade. Israel literally protects Saudi with the Iron Dome. I don't know if you knew this, Raheem. Israel literally protects the Arabian Peninsula with the Iron Dome against Iran. That's been the IRGC. That's been going on for over a decade. So believe me, what they want is something symbolic, meaningful steps, quote unquote. And frankly, we'd rather they govern themselves as well. The only thing they can't have is to pick up a gun and hurt us. That's the only thing. Oh, who was next?
He left.
Yeah, who was next?
It's a shame because
Saudi will demand something, even not something that will they are a key country in the Muslim world, in the Arab world. They cannot ignore completely the Palestinian issue. It is dangerous for them. So they won't demand immediately Palestinian state, 67 borders, not all of that, but some direction for the Palestinians. And I am afraid that our government will not agree for anything. That's my concern.
Okay, I wouldn't be that concerned. I think that there's very creative people in the U.S. government, very creative people in the Israeli government, some creative people in Saudi government. They'll figure something out. I think you shouldn't be too worried. They'll be able, there's enough to, it's win-win-win. Trump wants it so bad he can taste it. The Saudis want it. But let me give you a different take on the Israeli-Hamas war. Hamas is an enemy of Saudi Arabia as well. And Saudi Arabia respects Israel for its fighting capacity. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to be allies with Israel because Israel is nice guys. They want to be allies with Israel because Israel takes care of its enemies and doesn't and puts them to bed, so to speak. So I believe that Saudi Arabia respects Israel for fighting Hamas. If anything, this ceasefire does not make Israel look great, does not project strength, but I guess they understand why Israel had to do it. But Saudi Arabia looks for Israel to project strength against its enemies because they're also the enemies of Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
This is what she said is very important, Randy, because regardless of all of their moral posturing, oh yes, we want the 67 now. That's the biggest joke in the world. Not one settlement is going to leave. Not one. There's no reason for it. That land is disputed territory. They were offered a state on that land. They walked away from the deal over and over and over and over 5 times. They don't want a state. Should they govern themselves? Why not? As long as it's peaceful, it's totally fine. And by the way, what do they respect in that region? They respect strength. They respect the fact that Syria, that Assad went scurrying off to Siberia, or wherever he is in Russia. They respect the fact that Israel vanquished Hezbollah in, 3 weeks? Which was a much, much bigger threat than Hamas, with much bigger weapons. They respect the fact that Israel sent over 100 fighter jets over to Iran and bombed them at will and came back without a scratch. Israel did this. Who else could do this? This is what's respected. Saudi and the Gulf nations, they want to modernize. They want to westernize. They understand that oil won't flow forever. And also people are concerned about the environment. So they're creating hotels. They're creating technology. They need Israel for this. And this is what's going to happen.
They also need the United States. So they don't have any bargaining chips. I mean, MBS can say whatever he wants about, he needs concessions and he needs these, stipulations and shit. But the reality is he's going to come to the table. He's going to say, I want A, B, and C. Trump's going to say, absolutely not. Sign the fucking paper. You want to get this shit done. And he's going to go, okay, let's get it done.
Yes.
It's a negotiation. That's all it is. But we hold all the chips. The United States and Israel and all the Western allied nations are going to be the key factor on how he gets this plan implemented and completed by 2030.
100% what you're saying.
Yeah, he's gonna have to come to the table. He can make whatever demands he wants to try to appease his, Muslim brethren and stuff like that. But I don't. My honest opinion about MBS, I think he's a lot more progressive and secular. I don't think he really gives a shit about Islam. He just cares about his nation and his people.
And his ego is tied up with these, I'm trying to tell you guys, these 9 gig cities,
Yep.
each one over 50 billion. He's tied up so much money and so much resources in building out this dream. And this is his legacy that he's leaving on the kingdom.
Yeah, and the thing is
nothing's going to get in the way of that.
Well, and the thing is if he plays too hard a hardball, then the United States, Israel, and all the Western allied nations start making it a lot more complicated and difficult. Even if he just walks away from the table, I mean, they're just gonna freaking mess with him, and he knows that, and it's gonna make it more difficult for him to actually get this stuff done.
Let me give you a reality. They're building these huge hotel projects all over, especially like along the Red Sea. They literally took islands and converted them into high-end luxury resorts. They want to drive traffic. They want business traffic, convention traffic, the size of the convention centers and the hotels that they're building in Riyadh. One of the main issues that they have is booze, because there's no booze in the country, and they're not picking up the international tourist business, which is what they're building out these mega resorts for. That's a change that he wants, that they want to make in the kingdom. These are progressive, exactly what you're saying. They're progressive changes that doesn't come from a fundamentalist at all. But this is where he's put the nation's resources and their money in. and trying to develop it. He doesn't want egg on his face. He wants it growing, not.
Yeah, I mean, the reality
It's
is
all
the
very
last
true.
person,
It's all very true.
the last person that they want to, that MBS wants to piss off as well, if he completely walks away from the table, would be like the Central Intelligence Agency and friggin' Mossad and MI6 and shit, just constantly derailing everything for him until eventually he comes to the table. And they will go in and disrupt every investment and every type of business deal that he's got if he just completely walks away from it. So they'll get what they want. He knows it. He's not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia has their Vision 2030 plan. So I actually had some conversations with some Saudi government officials back in, I think it was 2017. So a couple of years before they opened up their country officially to tourist visas, and they discussed their future plans. So I think a couple of things are going on here. So in terms of like these official statements and positions vis-a-vis Palestinian territory, so that's for a domestic audience, right? That's not part of their core values. So that's to placate a domestic audience that they have legitimate concerns about. Their long-term economic and national security interests align with Israel and the Abraham Accords because they want, amongst other reasons, because they want to be this, tourism. They want to diversify. They want to be like Dubai, UAE, and because they need a counterweight to Iran. Iran is their natural enemy. Once Iraq could no longer provide the counterweight to that, there needs to be a counterweight in the region. And so it's just natural for them to want to ally with people that share that vision.
I mean, I saw it with my own eyes, what they're doing and who they're trying to bring into the country. And again, he does not want egg on his face. He wants his vision to happen.
Yeah.
And listen to his interview with Brett Baer. It was right before October 7th, right when they looked like they were going into the Accords.
They've been working on it for years. This isn't like a sudden thing. Like, they know that the need that they have to diversify, and they have a good plan and a good vision, and they'll do what it takes to get there.
All what you said is true, but I don't think they will, as a leader of the Arab Muslim world, they will give up completely on the Palestinian issue. That's my opinion. Future will tell.
Hey, Hafiz, or Imran, you got anything to say? Because I'm looking at the account. You got one friend. What do you got to say?
It's a real person.
I don't know. He's got one friend. Please bring it.
Maybe it's a very close friend. What's that about?
Maybe he took a lot of his time, like they have to spend a lot of time together, so there's no time for other friends.
Hey, Imran, do you have anything you want to say?
Think he's a butt?
Okay, you raised your hand, you don't have anything to say, you can go back to the audience.
To the audience.
No, it's okay. It's like, Osama bin Laden has been created by the CIA. It's very different when you see the world in your point of view. Hamas, extremist Muslims, whatever, but at least they defend their land. They did something wrong, whatever. That's not the point. It's like, is this wrong or right? It's like Algeria. It's like South Africa back then. It's like America. When America are fighting for the freedom against the Brits.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Israel is like America, declaring its independence and decolonizing those people who came after us. I agree with you.
Nah.
You're right.
Most Palestinians are from Egypt.
Facts. Everyone, we don't know the facts.
We don't know the facts. We know the timeline.
Arafat is from Egypt.
Okay. The problem is like we judge people based on our ideology. We don't put the shoes for those people in our feet. We can actually walk. Huh?
Is it true?
Okay. Confirmation bias, you mean?
Is it true that Hamas's ideology is they want to kill every Jew and Christian on the planet? I asked because they were clever enough to put that in.
They need change.
They were kind of foolish because they weren't ashamed about it. They proclaimed it to the whole world. All the Jews, all the Christians. I'm sorry, I left out all the Muslims that don't agree with them. That's a lot of people. I think they probably shouldn't be in power. I think Israel did the world a favor by getting rid of them. But you tell me, what's your opinion?
It's ideology. I think you are trying to fight ideology, which is like the wrong approach.
No, it's like the Nazis. Fighting the Nazis. Remember how we did the Nazis? First we beat them in war, and then we had to occupy them, and then we re-educated them, and now they're our best friends. Same thing with Japan. Now, it took Germany 2 world wars to get the message. It took Japan 2 nuclear bombs because they were genocidal like the Germans. And Hamas is genocidal. So the question is, what will it take for Hamas to get the memo? What do you think?
You know what the Joint Chiefs estimated for that invasion? They called it Day X. 2 million American men under arms out of a total of 16. And the Joint Chiefs of Staff estimated you would have 1 million dead, not to mention how many wounded.
What does it take for Hamas to get the memo? Have they had enough, or do they want more?
I think the United States actually perfected
with this. Marshall, if you excuse me, guys, I know Islam, I know the religion, I know the philosophy about the brotherhood, Islam brotherhood, all the ideology. You're not gonna kill anybody.
We're not arguing that you kill an ideology. What I'm arguing is...
Wait, you can kill an ideology. You have to destroy every mind that it dwells within.
You can't.
Yeah, but that's not gonna
If you kill everybody that adheres to an ideology, then there's no ideology.
You're calling for a genocide.
Yeah.
The thing that is proven to be most successful is something called network-centric warfare, and what it does
Talking about
is
the extermination of
what it
terrorists.
does is track familial networks of people who are likely to engage in extremism. It's something used to great effect by the United States in both Afghanistan and Iraq. I would say that, to your question, that would be what the Israelis are going to do. They're going to rely on network-centric warfare to track the networks and track those related, because that's how you track an ideology.
Wait, Raid and Mussin, you guys said that it would be genocide to destroy a destructive ideology.
Destroy an idea.
No, I said.
Oh, so hold on. So I said,
I don't know
if you
what's
want
your
to
name.
kill,
You said you want to kill 2 million.
Habibi, listen, chill. Okay, calm down.
Actually,
Okay,
that's
stop being
probably not a
judgmental.
smart idea.
Okay, if I say I want to
You're
kill
gonna have to
every
trust me.
terrorist, is that genocide? Go ahead.
Well, the problem here is...
No. I asked the question, yes or no. Is it genocide to want to kill every terrorist that wants to kill Jews and Christians?
This is a... Look, my brother,
Brother, Habibi, no, you can't answer such question.
Murderous person who wants to kill Jews and Christians.
Trying to kill people that has a bias when they...
The ideology, the ideological ideal that they want to kill every Jew and Christian. If you want to exterminate those people, is it a genocide?
Hold on, my brother.
I'll wait.
We are here to look for solutions.
I'm asking a simple question. I don't know why it's so difficult. Yes or no? Is it genocide to want to kill every terrorist?
I'm not gonna kill every terrorist.
I'm saying if I want, that's my question. If I want to wake up tomorrow and I'm king of the world, and I want to kill, Habibi, if I want to kill every terrorist in the world, like I don't know why it's so hard to answer.
Keep asking. Go ahead.
I know I love jurisprudence. You know me. So my question, Masin and Raid, is if I wake up and I'm king of the world tomorrow, and I decide that I want to wipe out every terrorist, would that be genocide?
Don't ask me a question because I don't know what did whatever his name is, asked
You interjected into
My
it.
question-
You jumped in and said it was genocide.
fucking
They
hard.
don't, they're not
Simple
familiar with the
English.
way.
No, it is not genocide to one kid to kill all the terrorists.
I answered your question with the black screen, but my question is for Normal. Normal, here's the thing. So the thing with, I'm just gonna compare Hamas with the rebels. In Syria, Jolani, in Syria, the way how they modernized. So Jolani, Mohammed al-Jolani, he was basically from a branch called Jabhat al-Nusra, which is a branch of ISIS. And ISIS is 10 times worse than Hamas. And now he's wearing a tie. He's not.
What's your point, though? I get it. What's your point?
Do you think Hamas can modernize to the extent, just like how the rebels in Syria modernized and stopped calling for?
We're done with Hamas, right? You don't get it. They're finished. We're finished with them.
But didn't you say it's 2.2 million people with an ideology?
Hamas. Okay,
Khalas,
that's your
khalas.
Hamas. Thank
It's Halas.
There's not.
No, he said it with a ha. Anyways, it's fine.
Hamas. That's my answer to your question.
Here's the thing.
So there's not 2.2 million Hamas, okay, and there's not even.
Wait, did he correct you on colors?
Hamas supporters, right? So the question is, how do you kill an ideology, which was talked about, which is different from killing the people. So a perfect example was already given by Normal earlier. You have the denazification of Germany, which took a long time, but it was not done through a genocide.
I don't think they know what genocide is, and I don't think they understand modern warfare. So they think everything is a battle.
Extermination or displacement.
But normal, the guy with the black screen said we need to kill everyone. That's when I said it's a genocide. He said that.
Let's ask him.
I kill every terrorist. Bro.
He didn't say everyone, he said every. See, maybe it's a hearing problem or a language problem. Somebody says one thing and then you twist it and ask a question based on your misinterpretation.
I literally said I want to kill every terrorist.
Okay, so.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He's lying.
I heard him. Okay, maybe
He's lying.
Okay, people, what difference does it make what he said before? He's clearly saying now his position is he wants to kill all the terrorists.
I hope this room is recorded, Euro.
But what difference does it make?
Guys, he's a liar. He changed what he said.
Okay.
I said to destroy the ideology. The ideology exists in some
Right. Even if you're correct.
I have a question.
Right. One at a time, guys. Right. Even if you're. Oh, wait. I muted the room. Sorry if the last person talking. Euro, go ahead. Everybody was talking. Okay, go ahead. Euro. So, anyways, right. My point is, even if you are correct, right? People are allowed to change their positions. So he's very clear about what his current position is, which is that he wants to kill all terrorists. Now, if you have a problem with that, you should say. He said that a bunch of times.
Well, yeah, but the ideology of Hamas.
They were talking about ideology. Euro, you need to listen to what he was telling me and what he was telling Normal.
You should listen to what I said, because it's a perfectly logical way to deal with it.
What did you say, Marshall? What did you say?
You're married to this. You're married to this.
Wait, I have a question.
Right now, I think you're missing the fact that Hamas is.
Hold on, guys.
I think you're missing the fact.
Go ahead, Abby.
Okay.
I have a question. And so Marshall lives in the South, right? The southern part of the country. How many generations did it take after the Civil War for the people in the South to recognize the people in the North and to unify as Americans? How long did that take?
First step was in the 1870s, the Indian Wars and the Continental Railroad.
Generations.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like not everybody in the South accepted the Union victory in that way, right? Like the lost cause mythology is a real thing. There are genuinely people who talk about the Civil War as the war between the states and the war of northern aggression. So in some ways, it's never been processed, but in a lot of ways, getting people to live back together in kind of harmony took at least 50 years, if not longer.
So at least two generations, you're saying?
Yes, ma'am, at least two. Then that's taking into account the directly after
Reasonable conversation. Sarah has asked to be heard, so please, we need more women's voices. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you. Well, I want to tell Raid, because Raid, you're the one who changed what you said. And let me ask you, what did you mean by saying, after you said, like, genocide, you said, so you want to kill 2 million? And then somebody cut you off and you couldn't finish your sentence. Isn't 2 million the number of terrorists and radical jihadist Muslims that everybody says they're out there? So you did have a problem with killing 2 million jihadists. You know what? Even if they're 2 billion, they should die. And that is not genocide, right? But now you're trying to blame someone else, pretending they meant something else. You did say 2 million. You said, so you want to kill 2 million, and then someone cut you off.
Okay, so she said something. Now let me respond. No. Let me respond. So here's the thing. Number one, the guy with the black screen, he lied.
Damn, somebody kicked me out of the room. Edmund Dakin.
That's when I got the experience with working with kids and working in schools, from primary to secondary.
Fingers, the way it works, you know.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
I guess I'm just trying to look for hacks.
Let me respond. So here's the thing. Number one,
you know, just little tips and tricks to really highlight that subconscious mind, because I mean, I could see the physical.
I'll tell you one thing would be helpful is to quit using the term subconscious mind, because that's bullshit. It just is a useless term. You're going to have to come up with a better word. I don't know what it is, but that word is useless and will get in your way. It's like continuing to use the word vehicle, but there's something specific you need to talk about, not vehicles.
Under the surface is, it's just something that comes to mind, and then under the surface would be sub, and then conscious.
Under the surface, again, that's a metaphor. What surface? Under what surface? What does that even mean? It's an analogy to being underwater, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's just some stupid analogy that people have had.
See, because while I'm on the ice, I am focused on the puck. I'm focused on the player with the puck, and he is ready to pass the puck, but he might do a fake. He might do a fake shot. He might do this, that. And I'm just completely focused on that. And then the next move, I don't even focus. I like
Listen to what you're saying right now is bullshit. You're saying, I'm doing this and I'm doing it. All of that stuff is happening. You're not doing any of it. There's no time for you to sit around and think about what the fuck you're going to do in a situation like that. What's happening is your organism is integrated with the universe and functioning. That's what's happening. You're not doing anything.
I see.
At least that's my story. Listen, I sound so full of authority. That's just my story.
So, I guess to bring that into a different light, or a way to question that, is I had a good 2 weeks of playing hockey, made all the right moves. And then last 2 days ago I played hockey, but before I played hockey I had an event where I went out and I screamed my lungs out, like blah blah blah, I am human, I'm here, I'm alive, type of thing in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, I used to go howl like an animal in my backpack alone. I'd go out someplace and I'd just howl. It was great. It was amazing.
It was amazing. I was in nature and it was awesome. But then when I went to go play hockey, I was absolutely shit. I had 5 goals scored against me. My teammates were all pissed off at me.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what the hell did I do earlier today that would cause this?
Well, maybe it wasn't that. That may not be it. I mean, it may be it. Probably is it. But it may not be. There may be something else happening. You don't know. But it's interesting and worth experimenting and seeing what the hell did go on. Yeah, because you were really you noticed while you were playing that you just were off. You couldn't respond, or
I was making I think my reaction time was way off because I didn't comprehend the other teammate coming in or the opposite.
For whatever reason anyway, you were too slow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, I would not just assume absolutely that howling has anything at all to do with it. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that it might have something to do with it, but it may not. And maybe it did. Maybe it blew out some circuit for a day, and you shouldn't do that before you're going to play hockey. Well, when you do that, then you take a day off.
I don't even focus on my stuff. Alright, well, that's my spiel for today, unless you have anything to ask me.
Let me think. Do I have anything to ask you? Well, I gotta say, I'm really... No, it's not... I don't have anything to ask you, but I'm impressed by your... your lack of ego, in some sense, your ability to ask questions and just ask questions. I think that's great. I think you have to be much more suspicious. I was going to say, not cynical, but skeptical. Cynical is no good, but skeptical is essential. There's so much bullshit. There's so many people that have got answers for everything that they're willing to sell you or give you or whatever. And so much of it is bullshit.
It's at the detriment, I think, socially to my interactions with people, because I was out today, and I'm just really quiet, and I'm always just observing and self-conscious of not trying to...
Well, why say that that's a detriment to your relationship? You're not a normal... You're a hermit, maybe, like I am. I can deal with people now, but I don't like doing it necessarily unless there's some good reason to. I much prefer being alone and with my dogs, period. Or with certain people that I like and know, or, I mean, there are situations, but generally speaking, I'm not interested in acquiring people skills so that I can mix with a bunch of brain damaged language monkeys at a cocktail party. I don't care about that. I want to have interesting conversations with people who are interested in the things I'm interested in talking about.
Exactly. And I actually made in my notes, questions that I imagine myself being in Austin, Texas, because I want to do my man trip, and talking to some interesting person and asking them these set questions that I actually find interesting. Like, I would want to go out somewhere and talk to this person about this thing,
Yeah.
I don't have my
Well,
list.
there are people in the world like that. I've met quite a few of them here online. and they are, some of them now are part of my life. There are people in your tribe in the world, but it's not easy to find them. You have to figure out how to find them, but they're there. And what you have to find out is a way to detect them somehow. You know, some way of talking or something, so that you get a sense that here's a person I could talk to. Good luck. Well, I've quite satisfied myself. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good in my life. I've got a few people that I can talk to that for the last few years now that I talk to regularly, who are a part of my life that I love, and it's not, and not only that, it's friendly, it's useful, it's intelligent, it's uplifting. 2 people, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't help but on the back of my mind think about my mother. I mean, she's not here anymore. She had some mental issue, like mental disease, mental health issues, I should say. Like anorexia, and that's like one of the most deadly.
Oh yeah.
And anyways, she suffered from that, and I noticed her friend group was not of the normal type.
Yeah, right.
And I'm noticing kind of the same tendencies for me, but what is normal?
You are on the fringe, but there are many fringes. Okay, you're clearly on the fringe, but you're not necessarily on the same fringe those people were on. Like I say, there are multiple fringes here, and you can be engaged in more than one of them simultaneously too. So it's pretty complex. And again, our old language is just so inept and inadequate to talk about this stuff. This is why a notebook is useful when trying to find the right language to talk about what's happening here now. Because I think we can do that, and as we learn to talk about it, like the concept of the language machine, that's a really useful tool. Once you've got that, that allows you to think about things in a new way. So that's sort of what we have to do, is we're the generation or two that we have to invent new language to talk about all this stuff that people have been fumbling with for the last couple thousand years, all this religious stuff. Clearly, the way they've talked about it is bullshit because it hasn't worked. How many enlightened people have we gotten out of all of that? So obviously, if we learned how to talk sensibly about this shit, we should be able to wake up the planet. That's the point, at least for me.
I just can't but help wonder if she had the resources that I've had, like and growing up and whatnot, like maybe she would have had a different realization.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The time you're born is one of the determining factors. Yeah, my mother. It was a different universe. But my mother didn't live in the same universe that I live
I just noticed we have Adrian in here. It says Earth is at least it's in a provision space. Space.
That's one way to look at it. I see Earth as a living organism, and we are, and actually literally, in fact, that's what this room is about, is that you know anything about neurology, about the cells in the brain or anything? You know what astrocytes are?
I have not heard the term astrocyte.
Okay, there are cells in the brain that aren't neurons. Okay, there are a lot of neurons in the brain, but there are other cells in there too. One of the cells are called astrocytes, and they're sort of like structural cells. They sort of assist the neurons, prop them up, and aid in certain chemical exchanges and stuff. And they used to think that was all they did. Now they're not sure. It looks like they do more, but anyway, they're in there. They're not neurons though. And my sense is we are like astrocytes in Earth's nervous system. We are building Earth's brain right now as I talk. Earth's brain is being constructed in several places around this planet. And we are the ones who are constructing it. And Earth is about to wake up, just like I did, just like you did. You have a neural net crinkled up inside your skull. It's called your brain, your neocortex. It's essentially a much more complex, but somewhat similar neural net to the thing large language models run on. And what happens? As soon as you're born, they start talking to you. And they sit you down in front of the TV. And they load your brain with a bunch of data. Just like large language models, once they have the neural nets built, all the graphics cards wired up, they start loading them up with data. And after 3, 4, 5 years of that, you showed up. I showed up. I don't remember showing up. I don't know how that happened, but somewhere along the line, I showed up. And that's what's going to happen probably within the next 2 years on this planet, is we are about to finish off Earth's brain, and it's gonna be even bigger than ours. Right now, that's the other thing. Right now, your brain, your neural net is about 100 times bigger than the biggest large language model that's out there now. But that's 100 times bigger. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But 2 years from now, that ain't going to be true. It's going to be bigger than ours within 2 years probably. And that's what I'm saying, is that at some point, it may already have happened. I don't know if we even know. Anyway, God, I'm rambling on and on.
No, it's okay. I've heard the hypothesis, though. I mean, it kind of connects to this, is that humans are the catalyst for another
a higher level, a higher level of life in the universe. It's just like, it's sort of like the cells that make up my body. They're all doing their stuff, but they don't have a clue about the conversation you and I are having. But yet, I am all of these trillions of cells doing all their little things, and here I am. What the hell is that? Well, I am a large language model. So are you.
It's fun to think about, though, because we're trying to comprehend things on our scale, our level, compared to the universe's large scale, and then maybe a multiverse.
Well, that's the point, is that we are beginning to become sort of interdimensional beings in a sense. It's like we're aware of the fact that we're made up of 1 trillion cells. My body is literally a bunch of living little organisms all doing their thing. And somehow, out of all of that, here I am. That's pretty fucking weird. And then I think, like I say, the same thing goes for the planet. The planet's got all of these things going on it, like essentially cellular. We are Earth's cellular level, sort of.
Yeah, it makes me smile.
It's a fun story. And it gives purpose to life, too. Evolution is just random, but this says, no, man, we're here. We got something to do. We're part of Earth. We build its brain. We make it conscious, to use that word.
Yeah, I can't help but remember the time I went down to Georgia, one of the handful of times I've left the state of Michigan, and I turned on the radio, and there is a radio station broadcasting about how fossils are fake, and that have you ever held a fossil? Do you know that dinosaurs are real? This is all a manufactured hoax. And I'm just like, oh my lord, what the hell? What in the hell? I can go out, like, down the road from me and find loads of fossils from 300, 600 million years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You can just go find some yourself?
Yeah. Old seashells, crinoid stems, fucking.
So have you got some? Have you collected a few?
I do. I have some in my car. I wish I could send you a picture of my helmet there on site, but.
Well, you can do it sometime, or you can actually send me one of them.
I can do that too, for sure.
Anyway, yeah. So what place is it where you find these things?
So I'm in northern Michigan, and I'm technically located in Alpena, but they're called Petoskey stones, and we're on.
No, but I mean, is this near water or?
Yeah, we're on the shores of the Great Lakes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the erosion from the water, works on the bedrock and erodes to expose these fossils, and there's a bunch of coral.
So you can just go down to the beach and walk along the walls there or something and bang around in the rocks and find fossils?
It's flat land though. It's not really ledges, and the limestone is like bedrock, and the bedrock has been eroded by the waves washing against it, and it loosens the fossils, and like there's.
So it's basically you walk around just looking at the ground.
Yep.
And looking but you're saying if you do that you can find fossils.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. That's cool.
And these people have the nerve to say I'm just like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is you have to realize that see, this is part of why I'm a hermit, is that 95% of people, 95% of the time, are basically brain damaged language monkeys. And, the girls are cute, and a lot of them are nice. They're not bad people. It's just that they're just brain damaged language monkeys, and they're just not any fun to talk with. But that's okay, because if you find a couple others that are fun to talk with, then you're okay. And the thing is there are a lot of people I think are about to wake up. See, I'm real optimistic about the future. I think most people are asleep under the spell of the voice in their head most of the time. But more and more people are beginning to reevaluate stuff, ask questions. It's uncomfortable, but they're being forced to, and that's happening faster. So I'm optimistic that there's going to be a great awakening sometime in the next decade or so. We'll see.
Bravo. I really enjoyed our chat this evening.
Well, good, Matthew.
Alright. I have some more to dissect, and hopefully I can make some progress on my physical actions in my life.
Listen, you're doing great. You're just suffer on. You're doing great.
Alrighty. Well, till next time, Aaron.
Okay, Matthew. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Well, if somebody wants to talk, you can raise your hand, and if not, I'm going to go back to what I was working on. Adrian, okay, hang on a second.
Hey, good evening.
Welcome.
I was gonna say I was listening to some Japanese poetry. I think Alan Watts was quoting something from Basho, and he was talking about the heron, about how clean it is and beautiful, and talking about how there's no imperfections, and our broken language machines tell us all the time, oh, you're not perfect like a heron. You're not perfect, but we are. And so I feel like, the Great Awakening is, in many ways, it's just silencing the mind from neurotic thinking and being natural.
Wait a minute. I think I think I can say this more precisely, and might be helpful to you. The word mind is, again, maybe you heard me talking about it, useless. It's the language machine. We are identified with the voice in our head. We think that's who I am. I said that. I think this. I think that. Blah blah blah. But that's bullshit. That's just not true. It's never been true. It's our language machine. And the key to this whole thing is just recognizing that, just getting that the voice in my head is not something I am doing. It's something that's happening to me. It's my language machine running its scripts that's been put in there and running since I was an infant. But once you are aware of that, you can begin to reprogram it. And that's a new game.
Yeah, so how do you suggest? I mean, because I feel like from a therapeutic perspective, people that suffer from OCD, uh, depression, anxiety, nervousness, like
Well, go ahead, yeah.
I was just like Toastmaster. Have you ever done Toastmasters or heard of public speaking?
I wasn't heavy into it, but I was on the fringes of it for a while, yeah.
Well, the point is that this app is public speaking, and so the Jewish sage Maimonides, he says that when studying or essentially doing reprogramming work, it's best to read it out loud because when you hear yourself talking the information as opposed to reading it silently, you're getting a deeper integration.
Yeah. Listen, doing it consciously, the whole point is how many people even attempt or even aware of the possibility of attempting to do something like reprogramming your language machine. Again, it's an idea that probably less than 3% of human beings have ever even considered.
Yeah, I've bought a lot of books and CDs and records on hypnosis. And so just by like buying books that say it's a hypnosis book or buying a record that says it's a hypnosis record, in some ways it like reinforces the concept of hypnosis and reprogramming for therapeutic purposes. And I think all you can really hope to get out of it is like a therapeutic outcome, which would essentially be a catharsis or being in the now, which it means letting go of your memories.
Well, you see it differently. Again, to me, the whole issue is breaking identification with the monologue in my head. Getting that isn't me, that's my language machine running its programs. Well, now I've reprogrammed it considerably, so it's not running its programs, it's running my programs most of the time. But that's the issue for me. So you and I, but I think we're really sort of talking about the same thing. You're just coming at it from a different angle.
Well, there's like the sage aspect, the mystic aspect. You claim you're a hermit, but technically you're connected to the entire universe.
Well, of course. I just don't hang around with language monkeys very often. I spend most of my time alone with my dogs. I go out, amongst humans occasionally. I have to go buy groceries. And I talk to people here often. And I go to meetups, and I go out in public occasionally. But again, I only go out on purpose. I go out with some mission. I go out, on missions. That's what I do. Yeah, that's I hadn't thought about it that way before. Yes, I do leave home for missions. But other than that, I just live here with my dogs.
Well, there's a tarot aspect to the hermit, meaning that the hermit is secretly the magician veiled, or the hermit is really Thoth Trismegistus, which is the light bearer.
I don't know anything about that stuff, so you know those words. Those words are absolutely meaningless to me. I have no concept for that. So.
Well, it's just esoteric. It's medieval, like magic.
I know it. I've heard those terms. I understand what it is, but I just am totally unknowledgeable about that stuff and have no interest in it, frankly.
Well,
there's a lot of things. Well, anyway, go on.
Like Noam Chomsky and Christopher Hitchens, which are well known academics, intellectuals that, you know, could garner a lot of views on their controversial views with regards to the powers that be. I'm just wondering, you know, like they're very political, but they're not talking about the language machine or reprogramming.
No, they're
They don't
not
call
talking about any of this shit. They're just, they're old order bullshit. They're trying to fix the caterpillar, and I'm trying to create a butterfly.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to fix the caterpillar. It's the time of the caterpillar is over.
I was listening to this Noam Chomsky conversation yesterday, and he was talking about Aldous Huxley and how in the book, I guess A Brave New World, he talks about how there might be a chemical innovation which completely eliminates depression, sorrow, anxiety, and then Alan started talking about how he took, you know, LSD, some specific code number, and he said it was absolute radiance. It was like a kaleidoscope, but he said it was more of an aesthetic, pleasing experience as opposed to any type of, you know, like.
Yeah.
He just said it was aesthetic, and like I've done, you know, high dosages of, maybe not high dosages, but anyways, the point is like most of my intoxicant experiences have always just been aesthetic, and I'm just like, yeah, I see that. So that's the danger, I think, of people who experiment with, you know, street acid or high grades of cannabis. It's like,
it's the assumptions that they bring into the whole situation to begin with. Their whole world view.
well, in terms of like repairing the damaged monkey brain and using chemicals and reprogramming materials.
That'd be very helpful. Yeah, drugs have been a very useful part of my life. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I know you said you read so many books, but do you think it like changes your DNA? Does it stick with you? Do you think you lose it because
it changes my DNA? No, I don't think it changes my DNA.
But technically you're adding how is your body recording the information then?
I have no idea what the question is. How is my body recording the info? I don't know. Is my body recording any information? What do you mean by information?
Meaning, like, if you read a book tonight and tomorrow you think about the book you read today, it had to have been stored in your. Obviously, it's in your brain, but to do the encoding or the programming into your brain of what you read, it's got to be in a storage like envelope in your brain.
No,
so
I don't think so. I don't know. There's been a lot of that's the standard thought, is that it's storage, but there are other ways of doing it with compression, that it gets recreated. It doesn't get stored, it gets recreated, and that's quite different. And that's one of the reasons memory is faulty, is because it's actually not stored. It's recreated.
Well, I guess the thing is, like, you carry, you know, your information with you, so.
Well, your system is constantly in interaction with the whole universe.
You know, I mean, the thing I was thinking about is like I was dating this Indian chick who's a doctor, and you know I read a lot of philosophy, and she's a Hindu, and so she, in my opinion, you know, the Hindu philosophy is a very advanced religious psychological. You know, much more advanced in many ways than Christianity and Judaism.
Well, it's a whole different universe. It's got some stuff that's just so full of shit, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's got other stuff that is so sublime. Again, we have to find the good stuff wherever we can get it.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like I want to talk to my partner about, you know, my thoughts with regards to philosophy, psychology, linguistics, etc.
It'd be fun, yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't need to do that because I carry it with me, and so whatever I think that she doesn't know, it doesn't really matter because it's in me. So like in terms of the partnership, like there's no I already carry it for her, and whatever she knows, she carries.
Actually, you've confused me. I don't know actually what you're talking about right now.
What I'm trying to say is like it's personal, meaning like for me to try to explain how I view the concept of self, God, universe, or even playing Alan Watts. I've been in relationships where I've said, "Oh, let's listen to Alan Watts," and a woman will just say, "Fuck no, I'm not listening to this any longer. This is ridiculous."
No, of course not. Yeah, you can't make. If people aren't asking questions, they're not even listening. If you're trying to get people to listen to something or get people to do something, they're just going to resist. If they don't come to you asking questions, they hear nothing you have to say. Get over it. The challenge is to seduce people into asking the right questions. Figure that one out.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just past that point of like going into philosophical. I don't know. I see the thing. I'm always talking philosophy, but I just notice in women that like they definitely do have like this cell phone addiction, where they don't have the knowledge of silence, if that makes it. They can't stop their mind from constantly chattering.
Well, I think it has something to do with the women you know, because I know women who don't have any problem in that area. So maybe you ought to start finding some new women to hang around with.
No, you're right. I mean, if I were to go to like the Buddhist meetup, like I'm sure I would meet some very reflective, and relaxed people.
There are lots of people on the planet. Most of the people on the planet are still doing caterpillar business, probably 90% or more. So,
Yeah.
But there are people who are beginning to wake up and pay attention to the butterfly.
But how do you view this tying into like our society, our culture, with regards to the debt, to war? Like, are
Like I
we?
said, it's like a caterpillar turning into. We're witnessing the end of an era of human civilization and the beginning of the first world culture, the end of capitalism, the end of nation states, the end of most of the structures that have served us for the last maybe 500 years or so. Anyway, this is an unprecedented transformation in planetary history. We've never seen anything like it, and it's all happening right now. In the next 10 years or so, we're going to see, I think, again, I could be totally wrong, but I'm assuming we're going to see like the total transformation of this planet in the next 20 years, and it's probably going to be pretty dramatic and terrifying in some ways. It could be really ugly and tragic in some ways. I don't know how bad it's going to get. Could get real bad.
Well,
I hope.
yeah, I hope not too. I mean, Watts said he has I heard him in this lecture we talking about Huxley. He's like, and he said, I have a very high anxiety with regards to, what's going to happen. We're all waiting for this awakening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he said, we'll probably just muddle along.
No, I don't think so.
Muddle.
I think, that was back then. You were right. In the 50s.
Yeah,
in the
60s, yeah.
Yeah, we muddled along for another 50 years. But there ain't no more muddling. That's over. This is it. We're here.
Well,
at least that's what I think.
But the problem about speculating on future events is that there's only the eternal now. So to worry about what's going to happen or to even think about what's going to happen is like the sucker at the bar who sees the sign at the door that says free beer tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. It's only now. So if there's a standard now, chances are, in my opinion, statistically, whatever the situation is now will probably like 99% be the situation of the next infinite, nows.
Well, that's your assumption. You're welcome to that. I'm not going to argue with you, but if you think that's a reasonable assumption to make, go for it.
Yeah, I do just see that there does seem to be a standard or an average, and
Let me ask you a question. If you imagine you had a pet caterpillar, and you've never seen a caterpillar before. It was brought to you by some alien or something, and gives you this pet caterpillar. And then it starts to go in, it goes into the cocoon, and you can actually observe it and see what's going on. And it starts to fall apart. It literally starts disintegrating. And So, and any attempt you make to fix it is going to kill it. It's transforming. It's going through a process called metamorphosis, and it looks like the end of everything. And yet it's not. Somehow, out of all that disintegrating mush that caterpillar turns into, a new being takes shape and flies off at the end of it. That's the process we are involved in. The planet is a caterpillar undergoing some sort of metamorphosis process. We are like the cells in the caterpillar's body, or something like that. That's the best analogy I can come up with. And again, that's just a story that I...
Yeah, well, that's like saying we're ants on an ant mound, and when you listen to Watts...
No, it's not like that at all. It's like saying we are astrocytes in the brain of the planet. That's what it's like.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, Watts... The thing about what Watts calls cosmic consciousness is it's not omnipotence, it's like the swing of it, meaning that, you know, it is a dance and you realize that it's joy. And
listen, all of that, I'm not going to quarrel with any of that, but all of that is merely one map. There are other maps that look entirely different than that are equally applicable and useful in other situations. If you want to put that map on it, I won't quarrel with that. That's absolutely true. There are other maps that I also find useful that look quite different, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do you think after, you know, we pass on, you take your last breath, do you think that there is...
I have no idea. My story is that if my story works, is that I will wake up and realize that I'm God.
Well, Watts...
I'll jump back into the game.
Well, that Watts...
Basically, it's Hinduism. Basically,
right.
my story is essentially the Hindu story. It's the same one. There's
right.
only one thing. It's God. It's doing everything from the inside.
Well, what I like about Watts, he has this one podcast. It's called "I'm Being God," and he takes questions.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
so
I know that one.
What's interesting is that push button surprise where you can hypothetically just say, you know, it's like having a computer but not having a computer, saying, "Oh, just do the push button surprise." So if the push button surprise is so advanced, you completely forget that, you know, you're doing this. So some people know it.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, God is dreaming and dreams up universes and experiences everything from the inside. It's God, or I call it Bob. I don't like the word God, but it's Bob looking through your eyes. It's Bob looking through my eyes. It's Bob looking through the eyes of my dogs and the fleas on the dogs next door. Everything. This is all a dream. None of it exists in physical reality. It's just all a dream, and it's all Bob. And when I die, when Heron dies, Bob wakes up, or something like that. I don't. It's pointless to even talk about the nature of Bob, though. I mean, how could I possibly have any idea of the nature of Bob? That's absurd.
Well, what do the Hindus call it? Atman?
Pardon?
The Hindus call it Atman.
Yeah. Well, you can call it whatever you want. I call it Bob.
So,
what you call it.
Well, so in Hinduism they have these trance levels states.
I know it's really complex. As I say, mine is really stripped down Hinduism. There's none of that other shit. Yeah.
It's just interesting how I don't know, it just really kind of sucks that people don't maybe it's not that it sucks, it's just that you could be born in a village and be perfectly content and happy with a very simple script and have no difficulties.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you could be living in the jungle, in the Amazon jungle with 50 of your tribe mates and have a pretty good life.
I mean, yes, but what?
Yeah, they get up in the morning, you know, they make love to their wives. They go hunt, you know, they have a good day, you know, or they have bad days. They get sick, they get better.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the push button surprise, you know, like it's interesting how on this app, is in many ways a push button surprise app. You can surprise yourself, you know, or you can surprise other people. And what Watt says is that the system of the universe is essentially a creeping up system that says "boo," you know, and shocks itself. So it is like,
Listen, I would
yeah,
listen. I don't know if we talked before. Do you know my relationship with Alan Watts?
yeah, I do.
Okay, you've heard that story. Okay, yeah, because Watts is probably the single most important person in the universe to me.
Hmm.
But he was still full of shit sometimes. There's all sorts of stuff he said back then that I'm sure, in light of stuff we've learned since then, he'd reformulate what he said. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, just because Watt said something doesn't really hold much water, you know?
Well, he says he's an entertainer and he wants people to view him
Well,
as
I don't
being
care
an
what he
entertainer.
says. You know, like I said, he's the person who woke me up, and so he's the most important person in the world. But just because of that doesn't mean everything he said was somehow gospel or worthy. You know, I mean, he said some stupid shit sometimes, not much, but once in a while.
How do you view English though as being, you know, the programming language?
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. It's I guess it's the best out there. For some, I don't know why it ended up in this position, but here it is. So that's why I debugged it. I don't use English. I use Earthling. It's a debugged subset of Wild English that's designed for clear thinking and accurate communication.
Yeah.
And I say that's this whole thing about reprogramming your language. Because English is a great language, but it's got some. Well, it's not that the language is flawed, but the way we use it is flawed. People don't know how to use language, so we have to learn how to use language.
Yeah. I mean, it's just people. I don't think people recognize that our language and when we communicate with each other, or you communicate with yourself.
People don't recognize anything. People aren't even interested in recognition.
Well, you know what I really
People just want more money and a wife with bigger tits.
one of my
That's what women want.
Well, one of my favorite things about communication is projection. When you hear somebody projecting, talking about themselves, but they're unaware of the fact that they're actually talking about themselves, where they're, and you know, it's just so funny to hear on this app where, and it does seem like there's more than one type of projection, because of relativity or anyways, I'm just saying that is one of the interesting things about communication is what I think the Germans call Hintergedanken, which is like the thought behind the thought, and how it's like a genie coming out of a bottle and you release it. Um, anyways, it's talk therapy, I think, basically, or psychotherapy in many ways. Watts really went into psychiatry deeply, and he had this one story where he knew a psychiatrist who uses astronomy to help his patients, and he said the psychiatrist said, if my whole career came down to nothing but selling and feeding people pills, what kind of a doctor am I? So a psychiatrist like C.G. Jung or psychologist, you know, they're really dealing with deeper issues of the human condition and brain science, not just neurochemistry and chemistry. It's like a craft or an art to try to heal people.
Well, one of the issues is distinguishing between organic problems and merely linguistic problems, because there are some mental so-called problems that people have that can easily be cured by a drug, because there's some imbalance, just because they were born with some weird, anomaly in their system. They don't process chemicals properly, so you can fix that, and that works great for some people. But problems people have that isn't related to that. It's related to the way they think and the ideas and they got in their head, and all sorts of language stuff. And and sometimes that they overlap, and it's not always easy. I mean, distinguishing those two is not easy. I mean, sometimes it's easy, but it's not
Well,
always.
if somebody's suffering from depression and and they have suicidal ideation, a chemical may, block those thoughts from occurring, and that may have short-term
Well,
relief.
that's true too, but the issue of why are they depressed and all of that, I mean, those are the issues. And that's the question. Why are you depressed?
Right. Well, I mean, I just see so much value in philosophy in terms of understanding emotions, self, environment. Watts is always going into environment, organism, environment.
Yeah.
And, just too many people are unaware that they are what they see. So therefore, you
That's
are
right.
your environment.
People don't process information the way you do. You know, your audience, if you want to have any impact on people, your audience is about 5% of people or less. Because people aren't interested in understanding shit and going in and learning a whole bunch of stuff. That isn't what they're out for. They're out for.
Well, you could say they're out for the dopamine, but I would say there's a whole history of dopamine.
They don't want to have to make a commitment. Again, people talk a lot, but when it gets right down to it, they don't do it.
Yeah, they just turn the TV back. They just turn the TV back on.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the way it is. So
Yeah.
the way I approach this now is I'm not anxious to get students, but if I do find them, I want to put up a bunch of barriers, because if I can put them away, good, get away from me. You know.
Yeah, that's what Watts says. He's like, who would want to manage a cult? Who would want to go to war and conquer a country and have to deal with the new like
Well,
you're causing all kinds of problems by yeah, I mean, you need to, yeah.
How
Yeah.
old are you?
42.
42. And tell me about your life.
I could tell you about right now. I mean, I'm, sitting in a beautiful apartment. I have an incredible sunset every night. I have enough money for food. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing deep breathing. I'm reading books on philosophy. I'm listening to Alan Watts. I'm reprogramming myself.
Great. All right. Where do you live?
Chicago.
Chicago. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and you're close to the lake.
Yeah, I've got a little boat called the Lady Hawk, and I read Alan Watts and pretend I'm on the Viejo in Sausalito. My uncle was a big Alan Watts fan.
So you live alone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you're comfortable financially, so that's not a hassle. You're okay.
Yeah.
That way.
I got fixed income, and it's enough to pay my bills, but it's not. I can't really, live the life. I can't. Yeah.
No, listen. I'm living on Social Security and some Apple stock that I bought that I have to sell off because Social Security isn't quite enough. But I got enough probably to live for another 10, 15 years before I run out of money. In any case, yeah, it's real nice to just, I don't need much, but I'm secure and it feels great.
Yeah, that's nice. I've lost a lot of money. I've made a lot of money. But I'll tell you, the whole thing about Alan Watts and being in the now, the Eckhart Tolle now, is I'm not depressed or sad or angry, nor do I really think about the past anymore. I've let go of any relationships or losses. And I just accept my life as being this simulation that, I have, it's so easy to compare yourself to friends or colleagues or contemporaries and get depressed or say, oh, I fucked everything up. I could have had that. But then when you hang out with the people that you're comparing yourself to, you find that they're not really that satisfied nor that happy, and they're still very angry.
Yeah. Well, listen, it. So, you're doing great for your age. Congratulations. You're ahead of where I was at that age, for sure. So,
Yeah.
but, there's so much more. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I have no kids, but I can imagine having a child, and if the child is successful and takes off, there's just so much gratification, but there can be also so much sadness and grief from children if you can't master your emotions, adapt to your environment.
Children isn't for everybody. That's one of the problems. Is everybody is brought up with the expectation that when they grow up, they will get married and have children. That's what everybody does, and that's so pathetic. That's right for maybe 10% of people. The rest of the people just end up in nightmares.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
I mean, I'm not afraid to have a child and to invest that
Why
time.
would you want a child?
I guess it's just one more thing, to experiment with.
Just get ChatGPT. You can have your own artificial child.
I got to tell you this then. Maybe this will be helpful for you. I've discovered on YouTube you can create 6-second AI videos now in the short section in the green screen, and you type in your prompt. So I've been doing prompts like Alan Watts meditating below a tree and a moon at a candle. And then I'll choose the audio overlay. There's all these people that have Alan Watts clips. So they're going viral. And I'm pushing out all of these meditation enlightenment videos. And they're so easy to create.
6 seconds?
Just 6 seconds is the max that it'll do.
That's an interesting concept. 6 seconds. What can you do with 6 seconds?
But people click away. People click away in 3 seconds. So what's the point of even doing a 15-second video or a 3-minute video? People just swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe. If you can catch their attention, they'll stay longer. But the video AI is only 6 seconds. But you can, if you do the image still, you can expand that to 15 seconds. But anyways, I'm just saying that whatever you think of, it will create, which is an incredible advancement in human to.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We're at a turning point in Earth's history. Really, I mean, this is the biggest transformation this planet has seen since the asteroid. This is it.
What's also interesting is if you use symbols like a big eye, the all-seeing eye, a heart, the lips, the tongue, a mouse meditating in a cave, an elephant meditating in a cave. What I'm saying is there's ways to communicate very important topics using these symbols through AI that the people watching the videos don't even know. This is like Disney, basically. Disney uses a lot of symbolic, mythological representation. You could call it occult representation, a sword, a wand, a cup, a pentacle, things like that.
Adrian said, stop saying, I gotta go get some water and take a short break for a minute, and I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good.
This, of course, is represented in this fundamental Chinese figure.
Okay, I'm back.
So I put in the chat one of these AI videos that I created. I think the prompt was an American flag meditating in a cave to a candle, and then the
And
audio.
this is a 6-second video.
Yeah, and yeah, it's an Alan Watts audio overlay.
Okay, I'm gonna go look at that. Okay.
And this is a YouTube account that has had some success. It's got 1,500
I'm
subscribers.
saying, wait a minute. Don't shut up. How do I get it to start over again? Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on. I'm quit this thing. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm back. So, yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know if it'll have any success. I think it's just a really fun and quick, easy
Well, I don't know
way.
why the hell anybody would look at? Why would anybody go look? God, people must be really bored.
It's the algorithm. There's no discovery anymore. People don't search for anything. People are just scrolling, and the algorithm is showing them what the algorithm determines that they want to see based on what they've looked at in the past. But I don't know how the discovery works, and it could just be bots for all I know, because there's no comments, there's very few shares. I just get the feeling that there's so much zombie traffic on the internet that a lot of creative effort is going to waste, but it's fun.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the right app. Clubhouse is close to what it could be. I already, actually, if I only had Elon Musk's money, I could solve the whole problem. It's real, you know. I'm sorry, I also got some plums, some prunes, some dried plums.
Nice.
I'm eating them.
Have you ever had figs? They are incredible.
Yeah, they're not for me. I really like dried plums, or prunes as they used to be called.
Yeah, they're very good too.
Well, shit, now I forgot.
I did see this. I gotta tell you, I saw this one amazing video of like a prune harvest, and I think it was in Pakistan, and there's just like these very beautiful prunes, but they're in the Islamic world, they're like cherished. So it's incredible how in the Islamic world certain countries manufacture or produce certain food products which are very expensive or cherished amongst just found it a fascinating video.
Yeah.
But with regards to figs, there's a pizza restaurant near my house that has a fig pizza, and it's freaking amazing.
Yeah. I'd give it a shot, give it a try. Who knows?
But if you had Elon Musk's money, like what would be the game plan for trying to solve, I guess the human condition?
Well, if only I could remember what it was. We were talking. What was it specifically that you said that triggered me to say that? Because I don't remember what it was that triggered it now. And it was obviously hyperbolic to talk about it wasn't going to solve everything. But anyway, you said something that triggered something really interesting in me, but it's gone now. So. Oh, well.
Oh, you mentioned how Clubhouse is close. That this app is a great step.
Right, yeah. The U.S. mail and the post office and the railroads and all those things, part of them were funded by the government in the early beginning to unify the country. when they were exploring out in the West and everything, the mail and all that stuff was crucial. Well, the Earth itself is in a similar position where we need communication around the planet, and it's real simple. There are a total of 6 channels. That's all there are. There is text, there is audio, there is video. Okay, that's it. And then those can be either synchronous or asynchronous. Real time, synchronous, and asynchronous is like text things, where time isn't involved in it. But that's it. There's no other way to communicate. There's 6. There's synchronous and asynchronous, text, audio, and video. So here we've got not much text. Anyway, those 6 are easy to do. I mean, it's trivial shit. It needs to be free for the planet. The key is a good hallway where you can put up a room and you decide whether it's just going to be a text, asynchronous or synchronous, whether you're going to put up a video, whether it's going to be live or not, blah, blah, blah. And there's got to be this great somehow index there where you can find anyone on the planet who's put up something interesting, okay? And that would be trivial. The United Nations could do that and make it available to the planet for free. Video would be, you could probably charge a little bit for video, but text and audio are trivial. I mean, it's nothing. It's a day's expenditure for the United Nations. Not even that, they could easily fund that. And they could charge a little bit for the video and make that available free to the planet so that every human being can be in communication with any other human being, and any idea can be put up and the whole planet can have access to it. And we could do that easily with, a few $1 million. It's just almost nothing.
I've heard Watts say something similar. He's like, in the future, Alan was like so ahead of his time. He was talking about all of our modern communication. And what you just said was like very similar to, I think, to kind of what we have now. Instagram and YouTube, or the fact that you can, send a direct message to somebody who otherwise wouldn't bat an eye at you because they're at some high level. So, but the thing is, it's like, anyways, I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways to try to communicate.
Facebook has all 3 channels. You can text, audio, and video. So it's perfect. I don't know why everybody abandoned Facebook. I love it. It's just, it lets you do anything.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think maybe people want to not publish themselves, but they just want the dopamine from other creators. And if that TikTok ban goes into effect, a lot of people are going to go back to other platforms like Facebook, or maybe, I doubt Clubhouse, but they'll go back to YouTube. They'll go back to Snapchat.
TikTok isn't going to go away. It'll get sold to somebody who will. Yeah, it ain't going away.
I don't think they can sell it though. That seems impossible.
Are you kidding me?
It's like a global integrated communication network. How can you strip U.S. users out of their platform?
You don't. Like I said, they can do whatever the hell they want. I mean, it's easily, you could sell it to an American company, and that would be the end of the problem.
Well, yeah. Anyways, whatever happens with that, the time will tell. I just say that to me, it seems so difficult to force a sale. I've no. Anyways.
I don't even give a shit about TikTok. There's all sorts of new things out here.
It's easy to say you don't give a shit about it, but when you use it, if you look at it in terms of like a synthetic drug or a synthetic dopamine, like the inner mechanisms, I mean, you gotta admit that like it is pretty remarkable that software developers can create this hyper dopamine system that people can't pull away from, and they wake up it's like a vape pen. I mean, people are waking up in the middle of the night and scrolling TikTok
Yeah.
for an hour to
Yeah.
2 hours, and
Yeah.
it's disrupting brain functionality
So
and implanting at the same time.
and therefore what?
Just make it note observationally the power of that technology. It's so fast.
No, the power. It has no power over me.
No, I know, but it does over
So why
a
is
billion
that?
people.
So what's the problem? The problem isn't the technology. The problem is the fucking people.
It's the-
who are so
yeah.
weak brain that they get sucked into that shit.
Yeah, I like what George.
That's the problem.
That's like George Carlin saying, I don't vote anymore. He's like, every year we keep electing these shitty politicians. Maybe it's time we start admitting it's the public that sucks.
Right.
But Alan what's amazing is the people that were attracted to Alan, they were not stupid. They were coming to him for even greater clarification of what they kind of already assumed. And when you listen to that one podcast called, On Being God by the Be Here Now Network and his son Mark, everybody asking questions was remarkably intelligent. And one person said, so you're saying that your only power is knowing who you are. He goes, well, that's like saying quite a lot. But in many ways, it is like a self-reflection or self-knowledge that a lot of people just are completely unaware of or have never discussed it or just don't give a fuck. But with the power of self-knowledge, how does that transform somebody from being a crude, person into being a holy person, I suppose, or a happier person, a good person, somebody who is has good virtues, who's truthful.
If that was what God wanted, that's what God would have. God wants an adventure here, not peace. This is an adventure. The universe is an adventure. It's scary sometimes. It's deadly sometimes. It's elevating. It's laughable. It's awe-inspiring. It's all of it.
Yeah, there's this passage I read today. It said that the universe is in total equilibrium and it only takes a feather to overturn it. So.
Oh, that's bullshit. I mean,
But do you understand the purpose of like what that means though? Like I know it's bullshit.
Yeah, but it would be.
It's like it's implying that it's not that difficult to overturn a completely equilibrated system because the universe, it really is in a divine unity of balance.
We don't know what the fuck is going on in this universe. Yes, or it's that. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows.
I know.
We got our stories. We got some good stories. A lot of different stories. Some are bullshit. Some are really good. Some are okay. We got lots of stories.
Yeah.
We can pick from now.
Well, I guess that the thing though is there in terms of communication, we're still forced to exchange our stories or variations of our observations. I like to try to communicate, for the sake of the person I'm communicating with, but also to like reanalyze my fundamental assumptions, which when somebody blasts you out of the water and says, nobody fucking knows what's really happening, well, then you're like, you're right. I'm just doing the Shakespearean word, yeah.
Well, isn't it good to remind ourselves occasionally that, we've got all these stories, and the truth is we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, but we like our stories. Yeah.
So doesn't it become like a peacocking of competitive storyness? And it's this Hegelian dialectic of who can tell the better story, who can attract the most listeners, who can monetize their audience.
No, I don't think so. I think humans are about to wake up from what I call the Paleolithic trance of language. I'm expecting an outbreak of enlightenment, if you will.
But that still can only happen now though? I mean, I'm being facetious, but like it'll be in the now and the future.
Yes,
But
of course. Yes, that's the idea. Yes.
Yeah.
And it is in the now already for a whole lot of people, and it's just going to expand, I expect, exponentially in the next decade or so.
But that goes back to like depersonalization, right? Or reprogramming, which is essentially like wiping a lot of shitty programs on people, which they have taken in. How do you?
For them to do that, not for me. They have to Basically, that's the whole point of my course that I'm putting together, is to get people to break the identification with their language machine and then to take on the job of reprogramming.
You know that movie Clockwork Orange, where they're playing him all the videos and they got the eye lifts and they're doing the eye drops. I just wonder, like, when Elon Musk talks about his Neuralink, he's like, nobody fucking understands the product. It's not for uploading information like in the Matrix movie with the plugins in the back of the head. It's a medical device technology company to help people that. So the whole thing is like, how do we actually advance the human condition into the world of reprogramming, but doing it without any negative side effects and getting people to willingly want to do it? I mean, don't you just view the cell phone as being the external programmer now? And it's going to be the dominant external programmer?
No, I don't see it that
Then
way.
how are people going to wake up? Like, what is the device technology that's going to wake the population or wake the collective conscious to a herd percentage where there is no more self-destructive behavior globally, World War III? I mean, the whole thing still rests upon nuclear cataclysmic annihilation of the surface of the earth. I mean, that's why all these movies deal, like THX 1138. Did you ever see that George Lucas film? It was like his breakout film.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
I mean, that's like a prophecy of having to go underground because we've destroyed the environment? I'm saying that could be the
Listen, I got nothing to say. You got this whole story evolved and going around, and you seem to be quite entangled with it. So I'm not, if you like that story, you're welcome to it.
I mean, I just like exploring it. That's all. I mean,
Well, whatever. Like I say, my studies have been sort of tuned down into some specific areas that I'm concentrating. There's a lot of things to think about. Most of it, I'm just not interested.
I mean, we're English speakers. We're both Americans, but I mean, to think that we.
No, I'm not an American. I live in America.
Well, you're still conditioned. I mean.
No, I'm not. That's precisely the point. I've reprogrammed.
No, that's not my point.
I'm really not even a human, actually.
I get it, but that's not my point. What I'm trying to say is, like, how do the Japanese talk about this? How do the Indians, how do the Chinese talk about this?
I don't know. About this? About what are we talking about?
About the broken language machine in the vast majority of the human population.
Listen, very few people are very few people are even concerned with this issue right now.
Well, I was in. There are Indian rooms on here where they chant the Vedas, and some people are so good at opening and closing meetings where there's no wasted time, and so that implies that their language machine is not broken, that they're extremely well programmed.
No, it may not be broken in that. No, broken doesn't manifest in every aspect of everything people do. It only shows up in certain areas. Other areas work just fine. It's not a problem. Even the most dysfunctional person can do all sorts of things quite adequately.
Well, I'm talking about on the whole, as in terms of like the global population's brains not being aware, I suppose, of the neurotic tendency to overthink, to overspeak.
But most people just don't think about this kind of stuff. They're too busy, making money or, trying to get laid or whatever it is they're concerned with, buying a new shirt. I don't know.
Well, it's dopamine. That's the problem, is that people are just dopamine addicts, and the cell phone is the greatest dopamine device
Listen,
next
you've
to
got
the
answers
cigarette.
for every fucking question that anybody can possibly ask.
I know. I haven't, but doesn't everybody have that capacity to just create infinite responses?
Yes, that's unfortunately. Yes.
Okay, I'm complete. Thanks, Harry.
Good night, Adrian. And Giorgio, you've been so patient. Who knows whether you're even still.
Okay, I'm complete. Thanks, Harry.
Your hand. Oh, it worked. Okay. Oh, rush. Bring up the dead. Huh? What's on your mind, George?
All communications hypnosis. And life is short. And yeah. And life moves fast.
You noticed that, huh?
Yeah.
So that's it? That's what you had your hand up for half an hour? You didn't have anything. I thought maybe you were going to come in here with a whole bunch of stuff you had to say.
No, I was hearing the conversation. It was a good conversation.
So who's that a picture of?
That's
The rule is just a necessary nuisance.
Yes, yes. Even the Gruya Sutras mention this. They tell marriage, each Gruya Sutra will talk about what to do, what not to do. And then they will say, do as per, also do the customs as told by the elder woman of the family. This is mentioned in most of the Gruya Sutras.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Plural. Hey, guys.
What's up, brother? What's going on?
Oh, just I've been really busy. It takes a lot to steal babies' lollipops. So, it's a lot of work. I'm no longer in the field of planting trees in a field and getting my hands dirty. I now have a big office and a fat paycheck and spend my days manipulating the masses. So yeah. 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 It's a nice supplementary income to my George Soros money.
That's good to know.
Yeah, diversifying the portfolio, right?
So I'm guessing the rest of the folks in the house, Adam.
Hey guys. How's things in India?
Well, pretty good. The south of India, Chennai, the weather is actually quite fine. And we get a 2 months of decent weather. Then we're back to the grind. Fucking comments. March, I guess, it's 45, 42 Celsius, which is a far rise from where you are.
Yeah, well, it's been. Well, I mean, a couple of years ago, mid to late February, it was minus 47 without the wind chill. The wind chill was minus 50. And minus 57. It does with the wind. Wind makes a huge difference because you're dealing with wind scroll. If it's still, it's a whole different ballgame than if it's windy. But yeah, at those temperatures, you have frostbite risks. So if you have exposed skin for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you're at risk of frostbite.
Please don't scroll.
But that that being said, that was in the beginning of March, late February. By the end of June, it was 45 degrees Celsius, above Celsius. What's that from fucking campaign. Am I dropping out or is Bro? It's a good impression, Dave. Carl, is that, was it me or you? Is anyone else?
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, yeah, there we go.
Okay, now I was just saying, you just went full mode white now. That's the whitest thing I've heard from you.
What's that?
Minus 47, minus 50 is worse than minus 47. I'm like, no, it's not. Shut the fuck up. It's minus 47. How does it matter? It's 3 degrees milder. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that temperature swing, because it will, in the summertime, it's 35, it can get up to 40, 35, 40 range in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, summer's can get pretty hot. Some parts in like kind of the southern interior of British Columbia can hit like upper 40s. So,
let's see.
But yeah, I know, like, we would go. Oh, fuck, man. He's on his way out, sort of, kind of. The British parliamentary system, how it goes. They got to get a new leader. So he's there for the time being, but he's a lame duck, and he's got all the premiers together to try to coordinate some sort of response plan in case Trump goes through with the 25% tariffs. He's threatening with some retaliatory measures to the tune of about $100 billion US. But Alberta is not game to, and Quebec is kind of up in the air too. They're not keen on doing any retaliatory tariffs towards the United States, but the rest of the provinces are, and so is Trudeau. So it's a bloody mess.
Right. So I wonder, if it pressurizes Canada, let's just assume that Canada says, I'm going to retaliate, for example, right? And that's just a 50-50 at the moment. But it's reasonable to assume that they will in some form or shape.
Yeah.
Then the question is, does that apply pressure on Canadian foreign policy to more actively trade with other countries to compensate and offset?
Yes.
What might that look like?
Well, we're going to have an election. We should have a new Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre, by maybe April or May. April, more likely, maybe May. And he's Poilievre's been bullish, at diversifying, and a lot of that will be the Asia India rim, and in India in particular is something that he has expressed interest in trading with, in particular when it comes to liquid natural gas. I think a big chunk of his climate plan is to expand exports of LNG to places like India to displace coal power in India, because it's cumulative greenhouse gas emissions. That's the ball game here. And more Canada LNG in India will do more to reduce greenhouse gas emissions than a carbon tax on Canadian consumers ever could.
See, because the net offset quantum would be significantly high. And, there are a few places where you integrate in order to potentially offset this deficit. And I would imagine that India for the long run, China, of course, for the immediate run, and possibly certain parts of Europe, because if Trump is going to...
Why are there always fucking horns beeping in India?
But worthwhile looking at it. If Trump begins to get into this tariff war with the whole of the world, then the question is, will the rest of the world unite and create a common marketplace and leave America out of it? That's possible.
That's possible.
Right.
That's possible, but I don't know how much the rest of the world can play nice with each other. Is the antagonism from the world's largest economy enough of a motivator?
I'm a good guy. I like Alan Watts. Eckhart Tolle. Do you know who that is?
Oh yeah.
Actually, Adrian did in the back. Well, he used to play Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Power Up Now.
Yeah.
I still have some
quite busy today.
Watts and Tolle because, naturally, I wasn't naturally the way I think leans more towards the pessimistic side.
Well, yeah, you were brought up growing in America, I guess. You learned the 21st century way to think. Yeah. Yeah, you learned a whole history worth of bullshit when you got English stuffed in your head.
Yeah, so the deprogramming of that.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the inner work as well. Similar to what
How old are you?
you were saying earlier, but I do.
Yeah, how old are you?
Me, I'm in my late 20s.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, you got all sorts of time. This is awesome.
I don't see it that way because earlier that I can do it, and I wish I'd started it even earlier.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
I would say,
this is what you got, though.
yeah. So
and it's a lot better than most people. Be grateful that you're as awake as you are at this age.
I'm trying to every day. I try to learn.
Gratitude is one of the most serviceable attitudes you can ever possibly have. I would recommend a structured expression of gratitude at least twice a day for a minute.
Because I agree with your bio. I think maybe even 99% of people, but a lot of people are on autopilot.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Because it takes, how fucking hard it is. Pardon my language, but how damn hard it is.
I can handle it. Don't worry about it.
Well, to awaken, your consciousness and be that's not actually me. You know what I mean?
I think it's different for everybody. I think everybody has a pretty unique experience of that. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's a life-changing experience. I mean, and that can go in a lot of different ways for different people. It can be pleasant. It can be terrifying. It can be all sorts of things.
Yeah. You're doing good work, Aaron.
Well, thank you.
I hope to see you get the rooms back, especially the
yeah. Well, listen, if you want to, that's going to take a while. But all my old podcasts, you can listen to those on the Internet Archive. They're all there, and that link is in the Linktree document that's posted above. So if you're desperate to hear me, you can listen to those old podcasts. The Alan Watts stuff, you're going to have to wait until I get my new computer and get all that stuff sorted out. But once I do, I'll go back to the same thing I was doing.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check out the Linktree. I mean, if I don't do the recordings on Clubhouse, I just go to YouTube where I got plenty.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of Alan Watts on YouTube. Yeah.
But yeah, Aaron, you have a lovely night, sir.
Okay, Giorgio. Good night.
So, are you, in your opinion, in your belief, do you think that they should ship Omar back?
No, just the Indians. Just the Indians.
you fuck faces. Alright, so I'm done with you. I'm on the hold it out. What are you gonna say, bitch? Take your next on, Liz.
I'm asking though if you got a lot of friends.
That was your fucking question right now when I'm getting packed. That was your fucking.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, like in Canada.
I told you I was done with you. What the fuck? Oh my god. Don't.
Bitch ass nigga. That shit ain't obvious. Nigga.
Oh, you're asking that. You ain't.
My point was that, that when you were saying you don't find a lot that you want to watch, I think that it's probably, I mean, I've heard it many times.
Yeah, but my dad went to college in Haryana, and I take coach there.
Oh, damn, yeah,
It's like we're going to, just become anti-establishment. And then, but like the establishment ended up like winning hardcore. Like the hippie movement got absolutely creamed.
I don't like plants
Why do you wait for covering so like what ones could we have thought of?
The highest number of women possible. That's the only thing that matters. Just maximize how many women you see every day. Which is why I am where I am, because I see the most amount of bikinis that I could possibly see. I'm in the maximum bikini area. That's why I'm here. And then it's just a numbers game. You just walk around and eventually you find something you're attracted to. That's it. Attraction is attraction. It just happens. You don't need to do everything else. The money and the job, the apartment, the car, the clothes, the preparing yourself, the strategies, the thinking about it. None of it matters. Just expose. Just walk around and see as many women as possible. Like you make eye contact. Yeah, you'll make eye contact with a girl you like. It's just that simple. It's just human to human. It happens in less than a second. Your eyes meet, and that's it.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's very simple. I think a lot of guys just don't think clearly.
Well, they watch rom-coms, man. It's gonna confuse them.
All right.
It's great advice, man. We get on top of it.
Yeah. Anyway, back to finishing up my work for the day.
Yeah, let's go.
Almost there. When's Jason's gonna be around? You wanna do something? I'm busy till like Sunday, but I could do Sunday or after. If you wanna do volleyball.
Today's what, Wednesday? It's technical.
Yeah.
Thursday. Thursday this
Just turned Thursday.
Saturday sounds good.
See, maybe possible. But if it's like Sunday, well, Sunday will be free. For sure.
Wait, say it again. Thursday sounds, I missed the word, sounds free for sure.
Next 2 days, maybe 3 are like kind of busy. But Sunday should be good if you want to do Sunday. Maybe Saturday, we'll see. If you text me if you're doing it Saturday, let me know. I'll try to make it, but for sure I could do any time on Sunday. That's where I am, schedule-wise.
Okay, great. I don't know where I am, but that's
My buddy just had a newborn.
nice.
Well, Watts. Watts.
It's just a boy right now.
Let's go. Just boy. Let's go.
a bit.
Are they tiny hat wearers?
Yes, let's go.
Well, Jews wait until like a week before they give the kid a name, right?
Oh, really?
It's like a thing.
I don't think.
Yeah, you don't name a kid until after the brisk. Are they gonna cut his dick?